Asaf Avidan sur Pure Channel pour présenter l'album Poor Boy Lucky Man qui est sorti le 4 avril en France. Thank you very much, Asaf, for being on Pure Channel.
For having me.
It's a pleasure, really. And I wanted you to come here because I first saw you on the show One Shot Not in France, and it was stunning to me. You were only guitar voice, not playing with the Mojos that time. Like tonight, you're doing another show in France. They leave you alone.
Sometimes when I go on radio or TV, I go alone just for technical reasons. It's not because I don't want them there. I actually need them around me. But for technical reasons, I go to radio stations or TV channels alone, and it's nice for me because I remember how the song started. Just me writing it alone. So it's nice.
You told me you were playing them naked. Yeah. Does it sound like when you just compose it, or do you rearrange them after having recorded them?
It depends. Sometimes I would write a song and it stays pretty much the same. I mean, I can write a song on acoustic guitar and that part stays exactly the same forever, and maybe we add some things to it. Sometimes we work with the band and we change everything and it sounds like a completely different song. So, I mean, the lyrics are always the same, the main composition is there, but the arrangement has so much emphasis that it just sounds like a different song. Sometimes I would arrange the songs. I would record some drums and bass lines at home, and then if the Mojos like it, they'll play almost exactly the same. So it's very different from song to song.
Is it for you the same line? First time we talked about blues a lot and about the fact that songs and melodies were coming from the belly, the stomach.
Was it you that asked me if I start with the melody or with the lyrics?
Yeah.
Okay. I remember that.
I'll keep that question.
Okay.
Do you start with the melody or with the lyrics?
I start actually together. I don't know how it comes, but I never write words alone, and I never write some chords alone and then add something to them later. I pick up a guitar or maybe play on a piano, and as I start playing, I start humming these things, words come, and I would maybe get stuck with like a few sentences that come almost kind of stream of consciousness. And then from that, I might stop and start writing and build, but it always starts kind of together because for the lyrics, I need some kind of scale. I need to know what the structure of the music is, so it changes what the words go to.
Yeah, do you play with different levels with your voice? Because that's the main point. Your voice is the most stunning thing on your music.
Well, first of all, thank you. I need to use my voice very extremely. I mean, that's the reason almost why I became a musician, so I can. It's a source of an outlet for me to, let out things that I need to let out. So when I write, I push myself to different extremes and try to use as much as the spectrum, as much colors as possible. I would go from the lows to the highs. It's not that I stop and think, now I would, it's not math, but it comes natural that because my vocals are important to me and the way that the way that I put out these feelings, I need to have all these extreme places, highs and lows. I mean, emotionally
because sometimes your voice is very soft too, but it might be extreme for you to do a soft voice, maybe more than.
It might actually. When I go to the kind of high screams, it's almost easier for me to sing that way. It takes a very large amount of restraint to put myself in those places. I mean, I always want to jump higher, but it's a work in process. I'm learning to use. I only started making music about 5 years ago, so I'm still learning.
Of course, there's always the reference when yeah, when we read the articles to the voice of Janis Joplin. But here's an anecdote. Like first time you were.
Does it really sound to you like Janis?
No, just that's the main thing. When I first met you, you were backstage on One Shot Not, and I was like, oh, someone is playing a disc of Janis Joplin, and then no, someone is playing live Janis Joplin, and then I came to your place, started talking with you and recording the music, and it didn't sound like Janis Joplin anymore. But yeah, the strength and the intensity. Does it bother you that everyone is saying Janis Joplin? Because I think the references are more large than only Janis Joplin.
I realize that people categorize. I mean, I do it as well. When I hear a new band or a new artist, I go, oh, that sounds like, I don't know, something I like or dislike. And I realize that people need that to describe what they're hearing. And I'm thankful enough that, you know, if I'm needed to be categorized, it's in a place with Janis Joplin. Exactly. I'm not in the same slot as Justin Bieber. So, you know, I can't ask for a bigger compliment as a vocalist to have to be in the same slot as Janis Joplin, which is not only her voice, but her amount of emotion that she puts out is just unbelievable.
I think that's more the link.
Yeah, maybe that's something I can relate to. But when I hear Janis Joplin, you know, I put a CD, she must be, you know, turning in her grave. She's so much better than me. I feel that this it doesn't do her justice at all.
Of course, I highly recommend the two records, The Reckoning and Poor Boy Lucky Man. But what was the main step for you doing that record? The production, the composition, as you say, maybe playing with the mojos?
I think, first of all, the thing for me is I never decide to write. I don't sit down and say, okay, I'm going to write an album. It just sort of happens, and it's kind of like almost a diary that happens. And this year of my life that this talks about was a year that, I mean, The Reckoning was kind of an album about not being able to be in a relationship. It was different girls, and I always blamed them for it, you know. That's the kind of man I was.
You blame yourself?
This album is kind of understanding that if I point a finger at so many different faces, blaming them for around the same thing, probably a wise man would reach the conclusion that the problem is in himself. And when I first came to Ori in the first album, I said I wanted to be like a live session, like those old school recordings. This album, I came to him and I said I wanted to be a studio album. I wanted to be something that when we go to play it live, we'll have to break our heads how to do it. Yeah. So we brought more instruments. Whatever we could play, we played. Whatever we couldn't play, we brought other musicians to help us. We took more time to rehearse. We took more time in the studio. We played around with things. I don't think we reached whatever we hoped to reach. I don't know what we hoped to reach, but I think the mere trying, you know, is something an artist should aspire to do.
And now, do you break your mind to play it live?
Vocally, we added more instruments to the show. We have keyboards, we have another acoustic guitar, we have another kind of vocal thing. So yeah, we're breaking our heads, but I think we're getting there.
Go see Asaf Avidan live, of course, and I highly recommend again The Reckoning first record and Poor Boy Lucky Man that has just been released. You can buy it on every legal platforms and of course on the MySpace, and you could find all the dates of the gigs you're doing in France.
Right. We also have our website, mymojolove.com.
mymojolove.com. Thank you very much, Asaf. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, it was very good. Thank you. It's nice talking about music.